Oh, hello everyone, and welcome back to Fallout 76 for another trip to the Purveyor. Today, as usual, we're going to spend 1,000 Scrip on 3-star ranged weapons, talk about what makes them good, what makes them bad, or what makes them somewhere in between. If you like videos like this and you want to see more, do go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter. There's always a lot more to come on the channel. So, it's been a little bit since we've come to see Mama Mumbles, and maybe she's been feeling a little lonely, so we'll see how we do today. Let's get to it. And our first roll of the day is going to be a Juggernaut's Gauss rifle with the last shot effect. The last round in the magazine is a 25% chance to deal double damage and 25% less VATS AP cost. So the Juggernaut's effect is going to give us increased damage as our health increases. Basically, when you're at full health, you get a 25% damage buff. That's not nothing, but it also doesn't really hold a candle to so many other legendary effects. So unless you're just really sure you want to go full health and not make any other sacrifices, I'm not sure the Juggernaut's effect is going to be that appealing to a lot of players. Something like anti-armor would give you a similar benefit, but will have a better effect on bosses in particular, while also not really requiring you to give anything up. So not sure I love Juggernauts. The last shot effect I'm not a big fan of in the vast majority of weapons, but a weapon like this, it's a little more useful in the sense that you have a smaller magazine. So it's not entirely impossible that you'll actually see a benefit from that effect every now and again, where something like a heavy gun where you've got hundreds of rounds in your magazine and you never get to the end, or even a commando weapon where you've got 25 shots in the magazine and you're reloading it constantly. For those weapons, it's pretty useless. For this one, you may see it every now and again. I'm still not in love with it, but it's better here than in some. Less VATS action point cost is always a good thing to have, especially if you're going to use this as a VATS build. So maybe you can get some more criticals out of that, get some more VATS shots before you have to reload your AP. That could be particularly useful if you're using this as a full health build, because you don't have the benefits of unyielding armor boosting up your AP. So do I love this one? No, but for the right player, it could be useful. Somebody running a full health VATS build might get some mileage out of something like this. So overall, while I'm not personally in love with it, it could certainly be worse. Let's move along. And next up, we've got a Mutant Slayer's Gamma Gun with limb damage and 90% reduced weight. Definitely not a huge fan of this one. The Mutant Slayer's effect on a Gamma Gun, don't really love that. Mutants are essentially immune to radiation, so you're not really getting any benefit out of that, though you can still do some ballistic damage with this weapon, so it's not all bad. I just don't love this one. So you're going to get some ballistic damage and maybe you do a little better against super mutants, but I don't think this is really the weapon you're going to use for that. Limb damage doesn't necessarily hurt to have, but I'd much rather see something like faster fire rate or, any number of other effects. What is beneficial here is 90% reduced weight. It makes this weapon weigh very little, so even if you put some mods on it, it will still be really lightweight. So if you're somebody who maybe dabbles in PvP, the Gamma Gun can be useful in PvP. So maybe this is something you can kind of keep in your pocket without too much weight expense. So when those situations come up, you've got something to use. But other than that, that's all I really see it being good for. Now we've got a Medic Submachine Gun with VATS critical hits doing double damage and hits with a chance to generate a stealth field. The Medic's effect, I think, could be dramatically improved if it worked more like vampires and gave you brief health regeneration for every hit rather than just VATS criticals. With that said, this has a good synergy. Your VATS critical shots do more damage and you get the Medic's effect. So if you really want to use a weapon like this and you're playing on a team and you're in close quarters all the time, then, well, you know what? Maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. If you're going to go medics plus VATS critical damage is a good combo to have. Your hits having a chance to generate a stealth field, I'm still not convinced that that's particularly useful. If you've got a good stealth build already, then I don't think you're really getting a whole lot out of that. And if you don't have a good stealth build, then Again, I don't think you're really getting a lot out of that because you're still going to be detected pretty easily. Imagine if you're walking around in a stealth boy without a good stealth build or the Chinese stealth suit, you still get detected pretty well. And I said stealth a whole lot there, so let's see if we can move on from that. Now we've got a Gourmand's railway rifle with replenishing action points with each kill, and it breaks 50% slower. Let's start with the Gourmand's effect here. This is effectively a 24% damage buff if your health and thirst meters are full. As they deplete, that damage buff will go down to, from 24% down to 0. Essentially, you get 12% for each meter. So it's okay. Doesn't really stack up to a lot of other things, but a damage buff is a damage buff. And if you're somebody who keeps yourself fed and watered all the time, then there's no real drawback to it. I've said before that I think Gourmand's is a nice effect for those mid-level players who don't necessarily have a perfect build or aren't ready to go full bloodied or junkies or something like that, where this is something you can do that gives you a buff for something you're already doing, so that's not bad. Replenishing action points with each kill is also not bad. This is a fast kill weapon. The railway rifle is high-powered, so even in the hands of a mid-level player, you're going to do some pretty serious damage with it. So maybe that helps counteract the fact that maybe you're not low health or something like that, so you get your AP refreshed a little more efficiently. And personally, I love the breaking 50% slower effect. Anything that keeps me from having to burn through repair kits or stop and farm materials to repair weapons is a good effect in my book. Personally, I'd prefer that just not be a thing at all. But as long as it is, if there's an effect that can keep me from needing to worry about it, I'm all in. So, is this amazing? It's a railway rifle. It's kind of hard to screw it up. It's like a pizza. Railway rifles are going to be pretty good even when they're kind of bad. But yeah, we get the point. Let's move along. So next up, we've got a Mutant Slayer's Gatling Plasma, where VATS critical hits do 50% damage and extra agility. So overall, Mutant Slayers as one of the situational damage effect, not bad. Of the situational damage effects, Mutant Slayers is probably the most useful because we do a lot of super mutant hunting in Fallout 76. VATS critical hits doing more damage in a heavy gun, I'm not in love with. I'm just not. I don't think anybody's really doing that with heavy guns. Maybe some people do, but I think they're few and far between. Extra agility will give us a little more AP, so maybe that gets you like one more shot in VATS every 150 shots or something. I don't know. It's very, very limited with the amount of AP you burn using these weapons, so definitely not in love with the second and third stars here, but if you've got the bear arms perk and your heavy guns don't weigh very much, then, well, maybe you get a little bit of mileage out of this and you can keep it around just for when you're grinding West Tech or doing daily ops with super mutants. Maybe you can get a little bit of mileage out of it, but other than that, probably not a great one. And now we've got another railway rifle, this one of the medics variety, where we again replenish action points with each kill, but this time we fill our VATS critical meter 15% faster. So our second and third stars synergize very well together, and while we don't get extra damage with critical shots, because they're still VATS-related effects, they do synergize well with the medics effect, where you're going to want to use it in VATS and get as many criticals as you can so that you can keep the healing going. So overall, the effects here synergize well. It's a railway rifle, so it's a pretty damn good weapon to begin with. So yeah, this one's decent. Would I prefer to see something like vampires? Yes. Would I prefer to see an effect that does more damage? Maybe. There's an argument to be made here that with a railway rifle, they already do so much damage that it kind of doesn't even matter if you have a damage buff on them because they're really, really good. So maybe something like this is a pretty good combo. I don't know. It depends. Maybe if we get some more content down the road where having a medic on your team starts to matter, then the medic's effect will be more useful. For now, it's okay. And now this one's pretty good. Ghoul Slayers Handmade with exploding bullets and agility. So the Ghoul Slayers effect is another one of our situational effects. You're not going to get extra damage against everything, but you do get 50% damage to ghouls. You also have exploding bullets, so with the right perks there, you can buff up some damage for that. And extra agility is going to give you a little more AP and VATS and make you a little bit sneakier. So this is a really solid weapon for that mid-level player who wants to level up. You can grind ghouls at White Spring. You can run it at Radiation Rumble. You've got the one at the Zen place with the cult of the hippies from before the war. Anyway, you get the point. There's a bunch of places you can go and kill ghouls, so having a weapon that does more damage against them is useful. Having exploding bullets, also useful in those crowded areas, which will allow you to tag more enemies and get more XP. So, do I love this as an all-the-time weapon? Probably not. Do I love this as a situational weapon? You bet I do, especially for those mid-level players who want to grind some XP, level up, and use this maybe for 20 or 30 levels and get a lot of mileage out of it. So not bad. This one, on the other hand, I'm not in love with. Here we've got an Assassin's minigun with increased VATS hit chance and extra agility. Number one, there aren't that many humans that you go up against in this game. So there are some, and you see some of them in daily ops, but in daily ops, you also usually see a mix of other creatures with those humans. So Assassins becomes a little less useful there. Most people, I don't think, are going around farming Blood Eagles all day. So not getting a ton of mileage out of this. Extra VATS hit chance on a heavy gun. Again, if you really want to run it that way, I guess you can, but I don't think you're really getting a lot out of that, if anything at all. Extra agility here once again. Maybe it gives you a little tiny bit more AP if you're using it in VATS, but I think it's going to be pretty insignificant. So there aren't really any effects here that I love. The minigun can be a really fun weapon. I just don't think this is the one. All right, 2 more to go, and the next one is a Berserkers Ultra Sight Laser Pistol with 25% faster fire rate and faster movement speed while aiming. So, aside from the fact that this is an Ultra Sight laser weapon, which just kind of sucks from the get-go, let's look at the effects. Berserkers, the lower damage resistance we have, the more damage we do, up to, I believe, a 50% buff. Unfortunately, the trade-off there isn't worth it. In my opinion and experience, it is harder to stay alive with no armor than it is at low health. So why on earth would anyone run a Berserkers build when they could run a Bloodied build and get more damage, use unyielding armor, and all of those things? So Berserkers effect needs a huge buff if we want it to be a thing. As of now, it's useless. 25% faster fire rate is going to increase your DPS, so that's not a bad thing. Faster movement speed while aiming is fairly useless. If you're a lower level player, you don't have the Speed Demon mutation, you might notice a bit of a difference there, but it's not going to be anything significant. Higher level players with that mutation, you've already maxed out your movement speed, so there we go. Our last roll of the day is a Nocturnal lever action rifle with VATS critical hits doing more damage and extra agility. Initially, you might look at this and think it's kind of crappy, and I can understand why you would think that, but this is actually not a bad weapon. First of all, let's imagine that we have this in the hands of a stealth rifleman. Second of all, let's assume their build is really good. They're running Mr. Sandman, they're running Covert Operative, they're running all those things to boost up their sneak attack damage, and they want to run this at night. So let's say you want to clear West Tech or places like that at nighttime. You're going to get some pretty solid damage with this once the sun goes down. VATS critical hits doing more damage. If you've got VATS criticals built into your stealth rifleman build, now you're talking about some pretty serious damage, especially when you start landing headshots. So not a bad choice here, not a bad choice at all. Extra agility is going to help you stay sneaky as well. So if you're doing this with the Nocturnal effect going at night and you're running low health with unyielding armor, this could be a pretty fun weapon for a stealth rifleman to use. Am I going to choose these effects over Bloodied or anti-armor or something like that? Probably not, but those aren't always an option. So this is not a bad one to run with. You get your extra VATS critical damage that you can run with during the day, even though you're not really getting anything out of Nocturnal at that point. It's not hurting you to have it. But then when nighttime comes around, you start to pack a lot of punch. So this could be fun for the right player, and sometimes that's what counts the most. And that, my friends, is going to bring this one to a close. I do hope you enjoyed it, maybe got a little something out of it. If you did, remember, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter. There's always more to come on the channel. and I do hope that I see you all next time.